Welcome to Internet Anytime, episode 15.
Yay!
Yay, we made it.
We did. We've come a long way.
Hours and hours of podcasting.
Over 15 hours of podcasting.
Actually, I don't know if it's robots who are responsible for this, but like a couple weeks ago, we surpassed 50 total downloads of our podcast.
What? Oh, that's dope. I don't care who it is, as long as they're getting to enjoy our wonderful podcast.
Yes, I
I
hope
mean,
so.
we put all this time and energy into it. I'm happy that someone is watching it.
Yes, robots or not. We watched a movie together this week, and I can't get it out of my head. What did you think of?
Oh
What did you think of The Witch? You are freaked out. You can't stop being scared. It seems like I didn't take it that seriously.
no. Okay, so I do not really like scary movies, which is why I decided to watch this one with you because I don't watch scary movies when I'm at home by myself as a rule because I get freaked out. This
Me neither.
movie, it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be, but it had some chilling moments. We must first say, spoiler alert to anyone that hasn't watched The Witches. Maybe you want to just fast forward past this part. There will be a few spoilers. But for me, the scariest part was when the witch took the baby, and made him into baby jam. That was the creepiest part of the whole movie. And that was such a scary note to start things off on. First thing, stealing babies and making baby jam.
Yeah, I guess that part was a little creepy. I mean, I can't get the kids chanting Black Phillip out of my head, but all in all, it was just kind of silly, and I caught myself laughing at it a lot. I too don't really like scary movies, and generally am not attracted to watching them on my own. That's why I was like, let's do this together. It was supposed to be. It was written by David Eggers, I'm not a fan of his work, but I read a lot about the making of the movie. It had interesting concepts. I was like, ooh, this will be a good movie, which it wasn't necessarily. It was
it
wasn't.
was
It
an
wasn't deep.
interesting movie.
I thought was interesting ultimately about it was that I guess he spent 5 years reading old texts and stuff, and that's where all their dialogue comes from, actual recorded dialogue. Every sentence they spoke is taken from something from that era, and then placed in the movie. And also what they did, we were talking about it as we were watching the movie, these poor people have nothing else to worry about, and they're just so freaked out by God.
Yes, their main concern day in day out is God. Is God going to punish us for having wicked thoughts and punish me for not doing my chores? Is
Right.
God, the little boy was 9 years old, and he's like, is God gonna let me into heaven? Am I gonna go to heaven? And he's so freaked out by it because he sees that his little brother was taken, and he's like, oh, he's gonna go to hell. Sam's going to hell. And it's yeah, their morality and just their relationship with God was in the forefront of their lives.
It was next level. I did a little bit of reading on the Puritans, which those people were or whatever, and I guess they were hyper religious. Their whole goal was to set an example to Catholics and Protestants, how to actually love God, and they were super centered, and they gathered in these small communities and preached to each other all day. And yeah, as we saw in the movie, we're super passionate.
So it makes sense. And yeah, it makes sense why this guy, they felt like he wasn't doing enough. And he and his whole family got kicked out of the town.
Yeah.
They thought he wasn't following the doctrine enough. Okay, so that kind of makes sense.
And I guess it was real easy to be accuse others of being a witch, back in that day. And kids would be like, she's a witch. And then they'd be like, kill her. And they would.
That was one interesting part. Because you read about it, but to see it actually being played out, how easy and scary it will be for someone to call you a witch. And then how you disprove someone is a witch is okay, if you throw someone into a river and she drowns, she's not a witch. But if she floats, she's a witch. So either way, you die, okay, and they bury you like you weren't a witch, or you live and then they kill you because you're a witch because you can swim. Like, there's no way to win. And you see, it was the whole family turning on each other.
Right.
Like, okay, they said you're a witch, but I know my child's not a witch, but you're acting kind of witchy. Tell me, and I can help you.
Well, they would
And
just
then,
believe the children, like that was
yeah.
the thing. Like a kid would be like, she's possessed or whatever, just maybe because they didn't like an adult. A kid sees anything, they don't understand what's going on. So I found that interesting that adults would, be so bold as to take a child's word over any adult, really.
Well, from the mouth of babes, the truth is told from the mouth of babes. So they're like, that's in the scripture. So they're going to listen to what these little kids are saying, even though these kids like are kind of picking on their older sister. They're like, she's a witch, she did it.
Right,
and they
in the
don't
movie.
even realize. They don't even realize, like, you are going to get your sister killed. Like, your mom's straight up going to murder this chick.
Well, maybe they do, but they just don't realize the consequence of it. But then, we're talking about the movie again now. Like, Tomasin goes and she accuses them, back at them.
Yeah. As she should. Those kids were creepy. Okay, so that was one part that was kind of a little funny, like the kids just being bad. I was like, oh my gosh, somebody whoop these kids.
Black Phillip. Right, they weren't doing any chores. They were just like running around the farm, chanting their little song, and then the father would be like, "Quiet, ye pests, in the house." He wasn't putting them to work.
Children.
Right, it was kind of weird.
And then the sister was basically in charge of like raising all the kids, and mom's like, why aren't you watching the kids? And she's like, I got all these chores to do and I gotta watch the kids and they won't listen to me. I'm like, oh, it was hard times being the oldest back then. It was a lot to do.
I guess what that movie also showed was that it was hard times to be, obviously a woman, a person in general, a woman on top of that, and then a woman of that age, because she's so religious, as she's becoming, she's becoming pubescent, having her period, and they, kind of touch on that in the movie a little bit. Impureness starts to like invade their minds, or like her mind as well. Even just like the period itself is like this impure thing. So then it just heightens this whole like fear of the devil. And of course they accuse Tomasin of being the witch. She's the like the quintessential woman, feminine character, and that's like what these witch things were all about in the end, is kind of like anti-women, anti-feminine stuff.
And then when the mother accused her of being a harlot and a seductress,
right?
Because she's like, oh, I see that you've been trying to like entice your brother with your wanton ways. And it's like her wanton ways are her just like walking around being herself. Like, oh, you think you're cute? And she was like, who's next? Your father? And it's like, ew. She has no desire for her brother or her father. She's just being herself. And her brother was perving on her. That's why, first off, the mother is wrong for that, because she can't help being who she is. And then they need more people around. You need more people around. You can't just be out in the middle of nowhere, just you and your family members. You need the boy up the street that's cute. Your brother needs to go to school and talk to girls his own age. It showed the harms of isolation.
Right. They all die. Sorry, that's the spoiler. I was gonna say, we're not gonna give away any spoilers, but yeah, I just did. They all, except for the one.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let people figure out who that one is.
Yeah, there we go.
Figure that one out.
Black Phillip.
That creepy song, and it was like no one was like, okay, where are these kids getting this song from? Like,
there was a lot going on in the movie that didn't really like add up, and that was kind of silly. The whole ending kind of happening. Like all of a sudden there's this group of witches, did that first witch share the baby parts with these other witches? Like where'd they come from? And then, the like Black Phillip, like all of a sudden there's this person, and he's got like spurs on his boots, and it's like, what's this devil cowboy whispering? Like where'd he come from? It was
he was like a devil cowboy pirate.
Yes.
Like he was like a cowboy pirate devil.
With an anonymous mask.
Yeah, but that was his face. It was like a handsome, smooth, cavalier-looking guy face. But it's like, okay, so he's Black Phillip. And then, like you said, what were they doing? What was she doing with the stick in the beginning when the witch was humping the stick? Was that so she could take it out to the forest? Did the baby blood make her fly? Like,
I guess that was the thing, that the baby blood makes the witches fly, which is what you got it from the movie. I didn't really get that from the movie. I read about that later. That apparently that's what was said about witches. Nobody actually did that. Nobody actually did that. But yeah, that the baby's blood and parts that like enabled their flying. That's like a thing.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering.
You called
it. I guessed that, but I didn't think I was right. But okay, that's good to know. Because I was like, why did she kill the baby? Like I thought at first that maybe it made her younger because it's a baby's blood. I've heard that. It's just
like she likes doing it. That's like what I got from it. I'm like, oh, this is like she's a witch. That's what she's into. It feels good,
She's evil.
Like you take a warm bath. She's just like, this is nice. You know what I mean? Like different. It's just you don't need a reason. I didn't see any goal in it. I was just like, she's the evil witch. There was a goal. You nailed it. It's for flying powers.
That's crazy. Okay. But okay, I guess you can't really, she's a witch, she's going to do the evil stuff she's going to do. I can't really rationalize it.
But well, overall, no, you can, and you did, and you were right. That's what I'm saying. I was just telling you what I got from it, which was the wrong thing.
Okay.
And it sort of makes sense. Like, of course, why would you have that in the movie? I guess just have that for no reason. And yeah, it was alluding to, again, some like historical thing, which apparently every scene in that movie, there's something taken.
Historical thing.
Okay. Not necessarily 100% historical, because obviously that didn't happen. But
or so we think.
Yeah.
And then men back then chopped a lot of wood.
If that's all they knew how to do. But that's how they kept warm, and they were dependent on it. So I guess you would be chopping wood a lot. It makes sense. You'd have to do it constantly.
Especially if you're living in like the New England area, it's gonna be cold.
Right. You're burning it 24/7 in your place. You gotta be.
Keep your hearth warm.
Mm-hmm. Although we have some fire experience together even, and like you keep a fire burning for 4 hours with like, how much wood do you need? It's not a small amount of wood.
That's true. So you would need a lot, especially they had a family of like 6 people. 7 people.
Mm-hmm.
Give or take a few kids. And so you need a good fire going. I liked it. It was a good peek into early puritanical life. I realized that I'm happy I'm not there. And then did you see how everybody looked so dirty? Everyone was so dirty.
Well, people in those days didn't take a bath their entire life. They would take a dip in a river sometimes, and then they would splash some water on themselves, but never get fully naked and really bathe. Most people their whole life.
Yeah. People they did take baths, but you had to be able to afford a bathtub.
The richest of the richest people, which was nobody. The Elon Musk of the world.
Not even, you didn't have to be an Elon Musk. People had bathtubs. People have bathtubs, but the thing is, you weren't taking a bath all the time, because they made bathtubs out of wood. You made a wooden.
It depends. In the 1800s, possibly, but in puritanical days and in the 13, 14, 1500s, no. You read about it. No, people did not bathe. Only the richest of the richest. You were lucky to do it once in your life.
I've read about it, and people did bathe, but they just didn't bathe often. They didn't bathe often. They would take seasonal baths. They're like, it is springtime, we are taking a bath. But if you were royalty,
like in a river,
queen, not in a river. They had bathtubs.
In a river.
No, they had bathtubs, Jacob.
No, they
had
didn't.
bathtubs. Yes, they did. When do you think bathtubs were invented?
I'm looking at it right now.
Romans took baths, and that was way before this. They had bathtubs. They just didn't take baths all the time. They had copper bathtubs. They had wooden bathtubs. People had bathtubs. They did have bathtubs. Okay.
Bathtubs didn't become a thing till the 1840s. They weren't even really invented.
They're probably talking about the bathtubs we have now. Yeah. They had bathtubs.
No, they didn't. People did not do shit, man. No, they didn't.
They did. Okay. So you think people did not take baths at all into the 1840s? Like
not really. I mean, people in Roman empires, there was bathhouses, and people would go to the river or stream that they lived by, possibly. That's where they would take baths. But people did not have a bath in their home. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
They had tubs that they used to take baths in.
Nope, they didn't.
Yes, they did. Oh my God. I'm on my phone, so I can't Google it for you. They did have tubs that they used to take baths in. And they would have to go and fill the tub from the pump, heat the water, and fill it up. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of things that they had to do in order to fill this tub, but they took baths in this tub, and you didn't have to be an Elon Musk.
Not at home. They had public baths, but people did not have it at home.
They did
not.
It wasn't like a bath.
There's nowhere here. It's like 1850, 1860. I Googled bathtub. It's all 1850, 1860.
Okay. Let me look it up. Because they had tubs with Jacob.
No,
they had tubs, not bathtubs. It wasn't stationary. It wasn't with indoor plumbing.
What? They had so what are you talking about? I'm telling you, they had public baths, and they used like a lake or a stream if they had it. But like people didn't have tubs in their homes.
Yes, they did. It wasn't tubs like we know. It was kind of like a barrel, or it was copper if you were fancy. But they had tubs.
People only rich people did, I mean, there's some evidence of
not only rich people. I mean, like if you were able to afford a house, yeah. But these people had tubs.
I don't know how you think people were living. I mean, we even just saw it in The Witch. Did they have a tub?
What? You do not got my degree in history.
Did they have a tub?
Like, yes, I know how people were living. These people didn't have a tub. These people were very poor. They didn't even have food. But you didn't need to be an Elon Musk.
They had a bunch of goats. They had fires. Yeah, only rich people had tubs in their homes. Sorry, up until like 1840. Not only rich people. Up until like 1840.
No, people were not necessarily rich. You weren't rich.
That's why so many people died of disease. That's why because they were bathing in their own diarrhea water in the river until like 1810.
I'm not saying that didn't happen, but people had tubs, Jacob.
Even like Benjamin Franklin and people like that weren't bathing. Benjamin Franklin famously took air baths.
That was a personal choice. He could have had a tub if he wanted to.
Those people didn't even bathe. And those people had money and were like the main historical figures, and they didn't even have baths, Daniela.
They had tubs. The thing is, people didn't like to bathe.
They just looked at.
But they had tubs back then. It wasn't like there were no tubs. They had bathtubs.
I'm going to let you think about your tubs. I'm going to grab a soda out of the fridge, and then we can talk about something else.
I'm going to show you a picture of an ancient bathtub, because it's real, Jacob.
Although I will say it's fun how passionate we are about our bathing history.
I'm gonna come over and we're gonna have like a long talk about these.
I just read 4 articles that prove you wrong in like 10 seconds.
Okay, look at this tub. Look at this tub. Here's one of the ancient bathtubs.
Yeah, sure. There's tubs that existed. They made bathtubs, but people didn't have them in their houses normally. They were in bathhouses and things like that.
They
Sure,
weren't just in
of course, people had a
bathhouses.
big wheel. Yes, they
People
were.
had them in their houses.
Yes, they were. No,
they
they
had
didn't. Only
bathhouses.
rich people had them in their houses. The richest of the rich.
Okay,
The one
not the
percenters.
richest of the
The
rich.
one. Yes,
These
they
were
did.
people
Yes,
living
they
in
did.
shacks.
No, they didn't. People in shacks did not have tubs.
Yes, they did.
They didn't even. No, they
Yes,
didn't.
they did.
No, they didn't.
That's why
No,
they
they
said
didn't.
back
No, they
then,
didn't.
They had,
No, they didn't.
They had a
No, they
whole
didn't.
bath.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
I'm just gonna agree to
They
disagree.
didn't.
I'm
I
just
know.
gonna agree to disagree.
And when I get to soda, I already asked you
Because
to
you're
sit
3
there and
minutes.
stew on your tubs, and that we should move on. But you insisted to keep going. But yeah, I guess we're looking at
Okay, we
different
can move
Googles.
on. I mean, I'm not looking at Googles. I've studied this, so
I studied
okay.
it too.
Oh,
I read
for
some
2
history
minutes on
books.
Google.
I read some history books
I'm
as
not
well.
saying that you haven't, but we're just gonna agree to disagree. We learn
Yeah,
different things.
if you want to think that people had bathtubs in their homes just normally, then you can think that. Go ahead for the
I
rest
didn't
of your
say
life.
that
I
everyone
don't
had
care.
bathtubs. I
don't
didn't
care.
say that.
I don't care.
Okay.
Only the richest people had them,
Whatever.
and there were bathhouses. Of course, bathtubs existed. And you're just talking in circles around yourself. It's tiresome.
I said, okay, it's fine, whatever. We can agree to disagree.
Okay.
It's fine. Okay, well, one thing I did this weekend was I watched the Grammys. Did you watch the Grammys?
No, I was kind of turned off by the Grammys. They decided, like, this is the best music. A Taylor Swift fucking record is what we decide as like a music community and everything is the record of the year. Ugh, give me a break. So yeah, this year and the Grammys in general for the last 2 years have just gone down in quality and stuff. I feel like it's just a commercial thing. Like I have a negative aspect of it. But did you enjoy watching the Grammys? Were there any good performances or people you liked winning? I know you're a BTS fan. Did they actually get nominated for anything this year?
Yes. So that was the whole reason why I watched the Grammys pre-show, because BTS was nominated for a Grammy for Best Pop Duo or Group Performance. They did not win. Lady Gaga and what's her name? Ariana Grande won. And I kind
Really
of
quickly, really quickly, may I ask, was that the only Grammy that BTS was nominated for?
That is the only Grammy.
What's best pop performance, vocal performance, or something like that?
Best Pop Duo or Group Performance. That was the only one they were nominated for. They didn't get nominated for Best Video or Best Choreography, Best Dance, Best Pop Solo, but nothing else. They only got nominated for this one category, which was already like, what? They had the #1 and #2 selling albums in the world last year. So it was like, okay, that's kind of interesting if they get nominated for anything else. But then for Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande to win Best Pop Duo, it's like, what? But it kind of like rubbed the salt in the wound, because later after they performed, they saved their performance all the way to the end so they could keep people watching. The armies that were watching it, they're watching it until the very end. And yeah, after they performed, Trevor Noah was like, oh, wow, that performance was so great. They deserve an award just for that. And it was like, yeah, you don't say.
Uh-huh.
Like, you don't say. They definitely do. And they performed the songs that they were nominated for. And it's like, yeah, that does deserve an award. Like, so for him to say that's like, I don't know, maybe he didn't realize they were nominated or he didn't know they lost. It was just like, oh.
It sounds like he knew what he was doing when he made that comment. It sounds like he's digging on Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande, and he's also digging on the whole Recording Academy for not nominating them for more things or not giving them some fucking award, because they do have a huge fan base. They are clearly popular in the United States enough. So like, what is the deal? Like, the only thing that makes sense is because they're Asian. That's like the only reason that you could possibly think of. And that's annoying.
Yeah. It is very annoying. And then they didn't get nominated in the Best World Music category either. So it's like they're not American enough to get nominated in the more of the American categories, but they're also not foreign enough to get nominated in the foreign categories either, which is weird. Because it's like, okay, they're clearly popular worldwide. They sing predominantly in Korean. And then they also have some songs, have one song in English and then a lot of songs in Japanese too. So it's just like, but it's kind of like you said before, like who's the people that are deciding this? There's no transparency about the process. They're just like, these are the people that are voting. but they're not saying what makes them decide to vote this way. Like,
Well,
okay,
I mean, hold on one second. What do you mean there's no transparency? What do you know about the voting process of the Grammys?
well, they have the people that are the voters that vote on the categories, and then they said it's like out of this 82 of the categories, they decide out of 82 artists, they narrow it down to 62 artists from what the people voted on. And then there's a committee that picks from those 62.
For who the nominees are.
Yes.
Gotcha. And then how do the winners get picked? That committee picks again.
The committee picks the winner from. So it's just like, okay, so you guys are voting, but what's your criteria? Are you like words and song? You know, what's the criteria? Are you just like,
the criteria is clearly they're getting paid by record companies or people. You know what I mean? They have a vested interest. You know, they're rich people who have investments in these billion-dollar enterprises. That's how you get to sit on a committee like that. And so, yeah, you and other people on that committee have a vested interest in Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande winning. And by vested, I mean literally money on the line somehow attached to it. And that's why that person wins. There's definitely no other reason. That's why anything happens in this country. And thinking about it any other way is like, you just put yourself at a loss, I think. Ariana Grande, that song sucks.
Yeah, I was gonna say it, but yeah, it wasn't a song that I enjoyed, and that was before it even was competing in this category with BTS. I didn't like the song. I felt like, Lady Gaga came back and she was trying to be kind of relevant again, making music, for her monsters, and it's just like, okay, been there, we kind of done that. But it wasn't anything that I felt was like, whoa, this is the collaboration of the year. These two together, it's like, whoa, monumental. Right. I wasn't moved by it. And the song, it was out when it was out, but after a couple months, you didn't hear it anymore. It went away. It wasn't something that people were like, I'm playing this for the rest of my life. So, but even aside from that one, I was disappointed BTS didn't win the award, but it's like how they were even saying, it's not something you can just get from hard work and dedication to your craft and making good music. The Grammys is something where these people are deciding who they want to give awards to, and that's it.
It's rigged. I was noticing that somebody who I suspect to be like a Scientologist, for instance, a couple of years ago was nominated for Record of the Year and had no business being nominated. Like, just where their record was well outside the range of the other records. Like, didn't sell as many copies, just wasn't in the popular stratosphere to be nominated. And I was like, the only way you get there is if you have some kind of in, or somebody's just like really pushing you,
Yeah.
So that's what it is. I mean, it's just like anything in life, it happens on all levels of everything, from your job at Chili's to the Recording Academy. People are going to do each other favors based on who they like and their friends and stuff.
And it's like, if these people that are in the voting majority of the Recording Academy or on these committees, they like Bon Iver, even though he didn't sell as many albums as Beyonce, but 50,000 of these people like him, and only 10,000 of those people vote for Beyonce, he's the one that's going to win. Even though he didn't sell as many albums, he didn't do as much, he didn't have as much success, but this is what you guys like.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not saying that this is like 50,000 people voting. I'm saying it's
I'm not saying that.
I'm saying it's 5 rich people in a room or Scientologists who have their own weird agenda. And I specifically said Scientologists because like they're pushing something in like a creepy, forceful way, So that's not like a big group of people voting. That's like
I don't know how many people are voting, but that was just an example because it's like whoever in this group, whoever they like, they're the ones that are going to win.
Well, you just said that you knew how many people are voting. You said that it was, I
don't know exactly how many. I was just giving a random number. I don't know exactly how many people are voters in the Recording Academy, but it's a big group of people that vote. And then from that big group of people, they have committees that actually pick the winner. So I don't know how many people that is. It's probably a lot, but I don't know the exact number.
I'm
But
gonna look
it's
it up because
not
it's an important fact if you're gonna be spewing it.
okay.
Recording Academy.
While you look that up, one thing that I did like about the Grammys was the performances. I know each year, regardless of whether people win or lose, people always bring it with the performances. And
Mm-hmm.
my favorite one was Megan Stallion. I love her. She always puts on a good show. And then she also performed with Cardi B, which was good. It was hilarious. So they actually broadcast the Grammys live in Korea over one
Uh-huh.
of their major news stations, and they were live translating the show. But when they got to the lyrics for WAP, like they were doing the translation at first, but like at one point, one of the guys, like, he turned red. The lady was just like, "Oh," and she stopped commenting, and they like kind of let the song finish without finishing translating the songs. It's like, they're kind of a conservative country, so as you can imagine, WAP is a little bit more risque. Plus the dance moves, and they were like kind of naked. They were like, not super covered up and doing very risque dance moves. That clip was really funny because I didn't watch that as I was watching the Grammys. That was just something that was suggested to me from my YouTube afterwards. I thought that was hilarious. Like,
You
oh,
think they would have done a little bit of like research to know what songs were coming up and what they were gonna get stuck translating? I imagine that not only, I mean, Korea is a little bit like you say conservative, but that would be a problem for any translator, that song, Korean or not, to run into that.
yeah.
And they'd
I
probably be
guess
like,
I guess they didn't know what songs. So it tells you what artists are performing, but it didn't say what songs the artist was going to perform. Like Taylor Swift did a medley of like 3 of her songs. We didn't know that she was going to do that, that she was going to do 1 or 2 or even 3, but they just said, "Up next." We kind of knew what BTS was going to perform because everyone was saying like "Light It Up Like Dynamite," so we kind of figured that that's what they were going to perform. But yeah, for everyone else, it was, you kind of know because you know what songs they have that are popular, but you don't know what they're going to pull out of their repertoire. But that was funny. Um, Lil Baby, he did a very, very moving performance. I know I normally don't, you're listening to songs on radio and I don't pay as much attention to like the lyrics, but his song was about like the Black Lives Matter movement, police brutality, and just like how we have to find a new solution. We have to find a solution because, yeah, things are bad, but we need to figure something out. And it was like moving through like different stages. Like, so one part was like someone getting arrested by the police, and then it was like protesting and being face to face with like the SWAT people. And another one was like a woman was giving like a spoken word thing, and then they were like marching together. It was very moving. I really enjoyed his performance. That one was a good one too. But yeah, overall, I don't think anyone's performance was bad. I liked all of them.
so it
I
doesn't look
enjoyed
like
that
there's
part of
special
it.
committees. It doesn't look like there's special committees in the Grammys. It looks like every member gets to vote
Okay.
on pretty much whatever, except for like in certain specialty categories. That's where they have some committees, like, and I don't know what constitutes as a specialty category,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of specialty categories, I guess. So like they have some of that,
Yeah.
but like in the main categories like rock, see, there's 11,000 Recording Academy members, and
Okay.
it looks like every vote kind of counts in some form. I mean, there's obviously like several rounds of it that happens, but yeah, it looks like in the end, it's all those 11 or 12,000 people that are in the Recording Academy. And I don't remember what qualifies you to be in the Recording Academy, but you have to have some kind of credits going on. So it's a little bit more democratic than I expected. I thought it was going to be more like you said, with like some small committee, but
Well, basically, during my research, that's what I read about, and even they were saying I watched an interview with Eminem, and he was talking about how he will not go to the Grammys. He's over it, basically, like what we're saying, how every year there are people who do great, amazing things. They sell all these records, but then they get to the Grammys and they choose someone that sold like 10 records. And like, who even is this guy? We all don't even know who he is. And that's the guy that they picked for Album of the Year. And he said how he was tired that that was happening.
Oh, who got Album of the Year?
Oh, this year?
Like, who are you talking about specifically? Like this Eminem thing or whatever?
It was an interview I saw with Eminem. He was giving an example. He was just saying this is
what
why
was the example?
That was the example. That's what he said.
What was the example?
Eminem said that he's tired of seeing year after year someone that people don't even really know and didn't really sell that many albums.
Gotcha. I'm asking who that is. Who was the example? That's, you don't know.
This is exactly what Eminem said. This is
exactly. But there's no. But you're not giving an example. That's a vague thing. I'm asking who was Eminem talking about? That would be the example.
I don't know.
And you don't know.
Okay, so I'm just telling you what. Can I just finish? This is what Eminem said.
Sure, you can finish. But I was asking a question.
I don't know who his example was.
Okay.
He's just saying why he won't go to the Grammys anymore. And they asked him if he was willing to be a part of a committee because they were putting together one with Dr. Drake, and they'd also invited Killer Mike. But Eminem said it doesn't matter because no matter who you put on these committees, it's not going to make a difference. And he said he wasn't coming to any anymore. So I know like Zayn Malik also said that they have to give gifts in order to be considered for Grammys. And that's why he's not coming. And The Weeknd, of course, you know, his album did so well, but he didn't get any nominations, not even in any of the R&B or hip hop categories. He's like, this is crazy. I put all this work into this and none of it's recognized. They're like, okay, do better next year. And you're like, how better do I have to do? How much better do I have to do in order to get recognized?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the end, artists should just not give a fuck like Eminem and just be like, screw this. This is garbage that somebody else made up. You know, this award ceremony is stupid. And like, it could be and should be fun, but instead it's like, it takes itself too seriously or whatever. But I mean, I would have watched it this year, and I'm actually kind of, maybe I'll check out more of it because you reminded me that Trevor Noah hosted it, and I really like him. So
he's fun. I like Trevor Noah. I like his show, and he was a good host. He kept things light, he kept things flowing, and it was good because, you know, COVID, they had an outdoor ceremony. So it was like, it looked like it was cold, though. That was the one thing. It looked like it was cold.
Well, it's probably here in LA somewhere, right?
Yeah, but it's like nighttime in LA.
I know, it's freezing. That's what I'm saying. Like you said. Do you know where they did it?
It was outside of the Staples Center.
Okay. So just like in that like square or whatever, kind of like you know what I'm talking about, area?
It's right across the street from the front part that says Staples Center, because right behind the stage, it said Staples Center.
Okay.
So I'm not really familiar with the layout of the Staples Center. I haven't been to too many concerts or games there.
I see. Yeah. There's like an area, like a square, you know, like a town square type thing where you can't walk, and there's some like restaurants and stuff, and it's sort of open, and I could see that where that being, unless they like closed off part of the street, but whatever. Was the crowd wearing masks and stuff?
There wasn't too much of a crowd. It was just the people that were, they were sitting at tables. So they had the artists sitting at tables, and yes, they were wearing masks. All the artists were sitting at tables. It was a very intimate event this year because there wasn't there wasn't just an audience. It was just the artists waiting to receive awards. And they came up, maybe, you know, they had like a friend with them or a family member, but yeah, it wasn't a lot of people like it normally is.
And you said you thought the like politics of it, that's like another reason to watch. And I hope, and you said that people were like using their voices in a good way and that there was some like.
They were.
So
they were making poignant speeches, even during the pre-show, which was from everyone's home. No one actually came there to receive their award for the pre-show. It was all via Zoom. But people were making very heartfelt speeches, talking, of course, about the COVID situation. People touched on the Black Lives Matter movement and about how we need to get together. I like the speeches.
last year were the Grammy. What happened at the Grammys last year? Because was COVID already a
That's
thing,
when.
or did
Mm,
they just get
oh,
canceled?
last year the Grammys were like in February, so it was before everything shut down. COVID wasn't
Okay,
such a thing here at that point.
gotcha.
Because
So,
the Grammys, they may have even been in January because the Grammys got moved by 2 months this year. They moved them
gotcha. They postponed them
too
this
much.
year because
Yeah,
they were
because
hoping to do it. Yeah, I see.
everything got shut down. So they moved it to the same night. Last night was also the SAG Awards. I don't know if you watched
Oh,
that. It was
no.
also the SAG Awards. And I know the SAG Awards kind of complains. They're like, how are you going to move your award show to the same night as our awards? People have to pick what to watch. And, the Grammys is a little bit more popular
Nobody
with all the
watches the SAG
flashy,
Awards anyway. It's just people in
all the
Hollywood.
flashy performances. So you can't really compete when you got Doja Cat like you. But, regardless of the politics, the performances that the artists put together were very enjoyable. It's a good show for that reason. But yeah, the politics are a little like, it's not the best. But I mean, that's kind of true with so many of these awards. You watch it and the thing you want to win doesn't win
Oh, you mean
quite
politics?
often.
The politics those politics, the politics of winning, not the politics of like speeches and people
No,
talking about like social issues.
no, I think that that's good. This is your
Mm.
moment to talk to millions of people. Use your platform to say what you want to say. Why
Yeah,
not?
totally.
Unless you're saying hate speech, then
Right.
no, that's not welcome. But this is your moment. It's good. You have an audience. Say something positive. Say something that's going to affect someone. Why not? Use your platform. What was that?
SAG Awards. I only saw like my roommate. He's been receiving a lot of like DVDs in the mail, like a lot of screeners
Mm-hmm.
or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm excited for him. So I was assuming that, but they were even coming as soon as like Friday. I feel like a couple came and stuff.
Really? They must have been late because voting shut down. Voting
Mhm.
was closed,
Did you
but
vote in that? Did you vote
I
in that?
did not vote this
Are
year.
you
I did
are
not.
so how does that work? Is everybody in SAG able to vote?
Yeah, as long as you paid your dues, you can vote. I think this year even you don't have to have paid your dues because COVID and the dues they like have postponed people's dues. I dropped the ball that time. I didn't vote this year,
Uh-huh.
so I can't judge about who won or who lost. I didn't contribute. I'm a part of it.
I've never really paid attention to the SAG Awards. I feel like if I was in SAG, then I might or I don't know, just being associated with Hollywood at all would make me kind of notice it a little bit more. I'm sure I've noticed it. I probably didn't even know it existed until I started working on set and stuff.
I don't know if I paid much attention to it before, but definitely after I joined SAG, I started watching it, and I make a point to watch all the screeners so I could make an educated guess. And I will say, out of all the awards, I feel like the SAG Awards is the most true to what people actually like feel. Like, okay, this is a movie that people love, and they love the acting, they love the directing, they love the writing, and they actually won an award. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is something people actually felt deserves an award, and it won an award. I feel like it happens a lot more often with that.
Uh-huh.
But
Gotcha.
I didn't watch. I gotta watch and look up the highlights of that.
Why do you think that's the case?
Well, there are a lot of people in SAG, and they're just regular people. And we also watched because they do send us all these screeners. A lot of people actually are watching these films. Probably like right now when people have a lot more time on their hands and they're at home. Probably
Mm-hmm.
was a lot more of people watching the screeners. So you've actually seen these movies and it's kind of fresh on your mind because they start sending them out like November, December. So you've seen these movies, you've seen these shows, and a lot of them are popular shows that you probably already watched on your own.
Mm-hmm.
They sent these screeners to you just in case. So people have actually watched it and with an objective view, like, okay, the acting here is good, not so much here. I feel like with movies, more than music, it's not so much like, oh, I don't like, if you don't like country music, you're not going to be so objective about it. You're not going to like any of these people in this country category because you don't like country. But with a movie, okay, you like dramas, you might not like thrillers, but you can be like, okay, but this guy acted very well in this film.
Right. No,
I feel
definitely
like
movies and TV are something more for the masses. Music, not everybody even likes music. You know what I mean? And music is more of like a personal thing. And that's why acting is, I mean, they're just acting and musicianship. I mean, they're just two different things. And the way that people consume them is different. Yeah. People consume them differently. We could talk for days about that.
Yeah. It's like ballet dancing and singing. They're both art form, but they're very different. And if you like ballet, you don't necessarily like to sing or can sing or like listening to people sing. But it's good that we've had these outlets to watch and appreciate.
I was also wondering, so do you have, like, I don't have a DVD player right now, I don't think, and they sent all these screeners with the DVD, right? Is that what they are?
Yeah, so some of them are DVDs. I appreciate more when they send the codes. They also send out like codes, like you can go to a link and just watch, like say Paramount released all these to be considered, and you can watch all the Paramount movies there. Those are a lot better. Or like they'll send, like you get a month free of Netflix to watch all the Netflix stuff, which is better because you end up with all these DVDs and it's like, what am I going to do with all these DVDs? I actually do have a DVD player. I borrowed one from my mom ages ago when I first got my screeners. Like, oh, I got all these screeners.
Right.
I watch them.
See, so it's an issue.
I had to like find something to watch it on. I know a lot of people have gaming systems.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You can watch DVDs on gaming systems, which makes it a little easier. But it was good. It was good. I look forward to seeing who won the SAG Awards. We'll see. But I was happy that they did take so many precautions at the award show, because today I was also reading an article about a new strain of COVID. I know it seems like every other day there's a new strain, but now there's a California strain that's 30% more contagious.
Ooh, of course we have the best one.
I know. And so out of all the strains that people have been contracting recently, 50% of people have had the California strain. And they said you're 11% more likely to have to go to the ICU for this one. So they're a little concerned. And it's a little bit less likely to be resistant to your antibodies. So your antibodies are doing not as effective against this one. Which is like, oh my gosh. Can we? And just in time, I don't know if you've heard, but we've slipped into the red zone today.
Yeah, I think so. Even just this past weekend, restaurants were already just doing the red zone or whatever, which is still pretty. I mean, they can only operate at 25% capacity, and tables are supposed to be 8 feet apart, and you're not supposed to go out to eat with people who aren't in your household. But like, no, they're not enforcing that, of course. I mean, how would they? I'm sure some places might, but
people aren't enforcing that. But it's crazy that they're going to let people indoor dine. And
I'm not in a hurry to do that. Oh, you did?
I'm not in a hurry to do. No. I said I get it. I get it because I've gone to outdoor dine, and the last time I outdoor dined at night, I said, this is the last time I'm doing this, because it was so cold. I couldn't even enjoy my food. They had heaters, but the wind was blowing so much, I didn't enjoy it. It's just like, okay.
Where did you go?
I'm done. I went to a restaurant in Hermosa Beach.
So it's like kind of near the water, and so it's definitely like, because I mean, I've sat outside there too. So there's times where you don't want to sit outside in Hermosa Beach for sure.
Especially when the sun goes down. It's cold. So I can understand why people would want to indoor dine, but at the same time, the pandemic isn't over. Things have gotten better. In the article I read this morning also said that it's down to levels for the hospitalizations, it's down to what it was like 4 months ago.
Okay.
So it's better, but it's not, it's not over. It's not like 2% capacity, we're not to what we would like it to be. They're just
No,
like,
there's
oh, this is
still
the best thing we've seen in 4 months, which is like, okay, so it's better than what it was like before the holidays. I want it to be better than what it was like, not this past November, but the November before that, like before COVID was widespread in America. That's what I want it to be before I start going to Chili's and eating inside. And because you get to eat with a table of six, so you and five of your close friends that you probably don't live with,
right.
I feel a little safe. And even with the outdoor dining, a lot of the places I've gone by, I'll see tables where people are sitting back to back. Like it's this much space just so you can pull out your chair, but like you're back to back with this guy at this other table, and you guys, you don't know him, you don't know his life choices. So there's this spa place that I like to go to, and I was going to go with my sister, but I was like, I don't want to risk it, because we got there and we saw how they were sitting people, and it was packed. It was packed at the time. So there are people at every table, and there's like a foot in between each table, and I'm like, and everyone gets to the tables and they take their mask off. They don't just wait for the food. People sit down at the table and take their mask off like there's some kind of safety zone around the table where you can't get COVID. Like, it's not worth it, but we'll see. I know people are also excited for gyms, indoor capacity for gyms, and also movie theaters. What's your take? Are you going to go?
Not to which one? Not well. No. The short answer is no. I mean,
no.
It's just like I don't have any desire or push for it. I don't think it's a great idea. I think that we're gonna go into another lockdown or something if we open up too early. We're still at like 1,600 deaths a day, 1,500 deaths a day. That's like where we were, like you're saying, 4 months ago. It's not anywhere near in the clear. And so any of these behaviors are just going to spread it around more. There's going to continue to be new pop-ups of the virus. And honestly, I don't want to get it. Like, that's still like a thing, like people kind of forget with this virus floating around that you can get sick. Feeling sick sucks. So I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood for that. Yeah, so I'm just not in a hurry to do any of it. So I am intrigued. So somebody had sort of intrigued me, like, because the movie theater, with just nobody in it is kind of cool. But you can do that. You can go to a movie during the day in Hollywood somewhere or in LA, and there's nobody in the theater.
That's true. That's true. I remember back. It was like some years back, but I went to see Power Rangers when it was like a new Power Rangers was out. And I went on a date, and we were like, there's no one else here. It was like a 10 o'clock showing of Power Rangers. I guess people were like, this is a kids movie. All the kids were seeing it earlier. But I was like, there's no one here. And guess what? We paid our $12, $15. And we had our own private theater.
I went to Black Panther in the Grove by myself, pretty much, on like a weekday at 11 in the morning or 1 in the morning. It's like me and maybe two other people in the theater.
Was it close to when it came out, or was it like after it been out for a while?
Oh, it'd been out for a while.
I feel like Black Panther was one movie where like everyone saw it right when it came out, and people saw it multiple times, and then they were like, I'm never seeing it again. But I feel like I saw it way too many times. Now I can't really. I think it's gonna have to be another 3 more years before I watch it. Like maybe before Black Panther 2 comes out, I'll rewatch it to like, dust up on the facts. But like I saw it 4 times, like in 2 weeks, and I was just like, because like one was like a premiere thing, one was like a group thing where we all dressed up like in African garb to go see it. One I went to see with the guy I was dating at the time, and then I went to go see it with one of my friends, and I was just like, okay. Now I know all the lines, and it's a great movie, but it's like, okay, there's only so many times you can see a movie in 2 weeks without being like, all right, let's watch something new.
Totally. I was when I was a kid. I would watch movies over and over again, but now as an adult, like I really don't like to. But then there's movies that, from your past that you don't really remember, and so when you rewatch those, it's fun. But like, yeah, something that's in new memory.
One thing though was when we were kids, we didn't have access like that to movies. You had to watch a movie when it came on TV. If you caught it right when it came on, you caught the beginning, but there was no searching through the channels. Oh, this is what I want.
Well,
Press
we had
play.
yeah. So you had to watch the same VHS tape over and over
Yes.
again. Yeah.
And you only had, so like at my grandma's house, we only had like 4 or 5. We only had 5. So either we're watching J or we're watching one of these same 5 VHS. So we watch like What's Love Got to Do with It? We watch Clueless, Major Pain. We watch this movie so many times we could tell you all the words.
Yeah, what were the 5? You named 3. Do you remember the other 2 of your 5?
What's Love Got to Do with It? Clueless, Major Pain, Karina. What was the other one? It was probably
What's Love Got to Do with It? That's the Tina Turner song.
Story.
Yeah.
Tina Turner Story. Clueless, Hello.
I never watched. I don't think I ever watched the Tina Turner Story. Actually, I just know the song.
Really?
I should watch that. I never watched. Did you say Karina?
Yes.
I've never seen that either.
What?
But I know that's like an 80s classic. I know that's like a 80s.
Whoopi Goldberg in her prime.
Yeah, I gotta see that too. So that's a classic. What? Clueless I've seen.
Major Pain.
Is that an Ernest movie?
No, it's Damon Wayans. He's like a drill sergeant.
Yeah, that I did see like in high school, but I should watch again.
You should. All the movies I just mentioned are all classic movies. They are very good. And I'm not biased because I watched them 30 times as a child. They're just good movies. It may have just been 4. I can't remember another one, so it may have just been 4. But these were our movies that we grew up on. We're like, and this is how high school life is. But back then, you didn't know. You didn't know any better. You didn't know that there would be a time where you could have these options. So you didn't get sick of it because this is just what life is like.
Yeah. You could kind of imagine it being a possibility, because like with TVs and once we got a little bit older, I mean, as a kid, but like as a teenager, you sort of, you could imagine like, hey, this is going to be easier someday than loading these giant cassettes. Like it's got to be instant at some point. It's going to be popping up right in front of us,
I mean, like as I got to be a little bit older, that's when DVDs were coming out and Blu-rays. People were like, oh man, much more convenient. This, and I'm like, these aren't so convenient. You can get scratched up and then you can't even watch a movie.
Yeah.
People had like DVDs. Cases of all their DVD, like the folders, like people used to put their CDs in, but they had those for like all their DVDs. Like, oh, pick a DVD. Just like, oh my gosh.
I know my cousin still has that, and of course, it sucks. I used to have one of CDs and stuff. Mine was like I had 500 CDs in there. They cost like $10 a piece. That was like $5,000 booklet.
Wow.
And same with DVDs. Those were expensive. Like my cousin has one, and it's all organized and alphabetized, and they did all this work. Now Netflix just organized it for you.
Yeah, you just I still have tons of DVDs. I need to unload them somewhere because, like, I'm not really watching them. Like, there are certain things that are like a little older and kind of hard to find, or like if you want a Harry Potter movie marathon, I can just watch them all. That's a little harder to find. You gotta have like stuff then. But most of these, I'm not really watching them too often. I can let them go. Got the internet, and it's still not too hard to find like some seedy website where you can find these movies. Like the other day, I was like, I want to watch Juno, and I just found it somewhere on the internet.
Like, oh yeah. Oh
It was
yeah,
like,
yeah, totally. I forgot. Like I haven't done that for a while, but I used to use. I can't remember what sites I would use, but yeah, you can still watch anything. You click a few bonus links that don't load, and it's just kind of frozen. And there's ads. You got to click through pop-up ads, and then eventually you hit
yeah,
one, and it's like perfect. It's like
yeah, it's like DVD
yeah,
quality, but guess
yeah. You
what?
get the
All
DVD. You get one that's like a Korean overdub, and you're like, fuck, no. Yeah, exactly. You get one with no
well, where did you
audio.
go? Katrina when I got.
Totally.
But it wasn't even too hard for me to find. I was like, oh, that's such a cute movie. It's a little problematic. Looking at it now as an adult, I see
Uh-huh.
there were some issues with that movie. Like, okay, she shouldn't have been going over to the foster families or the adoptive family's house and just calling. And she was like, oh, is your wife there? And he was like, no, we're safe. I'm like, that's a red flag. Why do you want the wife to not be there so you guys can hang out? Like, that's weird. That's weird. And then she's like, oh, well, what do you mean you're leaving your wife? I'm like, girl, you already see you guys are like hanging out. And she like started, she was the one that was coming over. She was the one that was calling him. And then like she went over with like her music and she tried to, well, not tried, she like put her arms around him to slow dance with him. That's not appropriate. It is his fault too, because he shouldn't have been answering the phone. He shouldn't have been letting her in the house. And he really shouldn't have slow danced with her. He should have been like, okay,
Right.
he's the adult in the situation. He should have
Right.
put up some boundaries, like, thank you for calling, but if it's not about the baby, please don't call.
Yeah.
But you could see he was getting excited
Right.
because she was talking to him about things that he didn't get to experience anymore. Maybe he and his
Totally.
wife had enjoyed these things when they first got together, but yeah. But it would be interesting to go back and watch a lot of the movies that we liked when we were younger or teenagers and had one perspective, and not watch them now that we're older and we've had some life experiences and see what our thoughts will be about these movies now.
I think that unfortunately, I mean, we've grown up, but movies and Hollywood in general hasn't. You know, you see so many movies and TV series where there's nudity for no reason or just
Yeah.
like a weird gratuitous joke at the expense of somebody based on their appearance or, um, and and of course there can be arguments made like there are ways to do that are like okay, and I can agree with that, but a lot of what I see is just like eye rolls. It's like really like why, you know.
Yeah. I was reading this article about like things that happened in the early 2000s that were like super cringe, but at the time we're just like, oh, okay. So there
Uh-huh.
was this movie with Paris Hilton, and it was called The Hottie and the Naughty. So
Uh-huh.
Paris Hilton was the hottie, and then she
Yep.
had this friend that had like messed up teeth, and like she had a unibrow, and her hair was messed up, and she was the naughty.
Yeah.
But I remember watching the movie, so I remember the plot. So the guy was like in love with Paris Hilton, and then like throughout the movie, like the naughty, he like started to like the naughty, but she slowly, magically started to become pretty. Like her 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 teeth were no longer yellow, fixed themselves. Like she no
Whitener.
hair,
Whitener.
but
Mm-hmm.
it was supposed to be like personality was starting to show through. Like, I'm like, come on, this is problematic. Like, oh, only when her personality looked the way her face looked the way her personality was did he like really realize I like you, Abigail. It's just like, oh god. But in the picture on the front, she looks so messed up. And then she stand next to tall, pretty Paris Hilton, like,
God.
and Paris Hilton's like, I'm like, oh gosh. The movies, and it's crazy that stuff like that gets financed.
Right. And that's the thing is that like the people who were making the stuff and in charge in the 90s and early 2000s are the people who are still making stuff and in charge. You know, it's the same producers, a lot of the same actors, and it's like we are in an interesting age of like, it's like when you the people who are old and adults when we were kids are still the old adults.
Oh my gosh. Well, you're talking about people that made the music before. So, did you know that Dr. Luke, the guy that produced Kesha and allegedly, they say allegedly assaulted Kesha, and then he produced for Kelly Clarkson and all these other people too, he's actually back. He did not leave the music scene. He's back under a new name. Under this new name, he got nominated for a Grammy this year.
Oh, he did? Wow.
Yes, he got nominated for a Grammy. And it's like, oh, you don't realize, but yeah, it's like, I forgot what the name is. But it's completely different from Dr. Luke. No Luke, it was Tiny Timmy or something.
Sure.
But yeah, he got nominated for a Grammy under the making the music.
His beats must be the freshest, man. He must be making the best beats.
I guess so. And it's like, I guess maybe if especially last year, people weren't necessarily seeing the people. They may have just been talking to them like, oh yeah, this is Tiny Tim, make me something dope. And then he just sends them a track. So
it goes through managers a lot now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even like them as artists. It's like somebody representing you being like, oh, I represent this guy and he's got these beats, and you represent this artist who's going to sing on the track, and they do it, you know? Dr. Luke just sits in his laptop and makes the beats.
Who even knows what Dr. Luke looked like, you know? In the article, it was like his name, and it's like, oh, okay. But if the article hadn't said that was Dr. Luke, I wouldn't have. Dr. Luke, like,
he was not a famous face. I mean, he was kind of more behind the scenes guy, and you know, he was a guitar player on Saturday Night Live. But it's like,
oh really? Oh yeah. Hey, easier for you to be a little sketch because you're in the background.
Yeah, he was like he went to one of the, I can't remember if he went to Juilliard or Berkeley, but he went to one of the big music schools as like a jazz guitar player, and
wow.
He played in like nightclubs in New York City, and like for somebody who's like, you know, doing that, one of those gigs is like what you're going for. So yeah, he got the gig on Saturday Night Live, and then he started making like pop music, and I think it was his connections on that Saturday Night Live band, you know, like meeting musical guests and stuff, that he got some of his first opportunities to make tracks for artists.
That makes sense. You do get to meet a lot of celebrities. Wow. Oh, but it didn't. Not everybody's nice.
Well, I mean, that guy seems like a douchebag, and you read those accounts, and they're awful, and it's like, ugh. Why do people behave like this? It's just, especially some dude like that who can, you know, he's doing fine. Like, if you can get laid, it's okay. I don't know. It's just.
But it's a power thing. It's not. You can do it because you can.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we already know there's a lot of things that need to be worked on in the music industry, in the movie industry. Oh, right. Yeah. So I was also reading an article about the Bachelorette. Not just the Bachelorette, but the Bachelorette franchise in general, where they were talking to past people that had been on the show that were African American about their experiences with the show. So this past season, they had their first African American Bachelor. I don't know if you saw anything about that. They had their first African American Bachelor, and there was a lot of scandal going around because one of the front runners had some of her past tweets and past comments come forward where she had some racist pro-Trump leanings, where it's like, okay, that's not cool, and you're trying to like get with this black guy, like, okay.
But then he was pro-Trump too?
No, he wasn't pro-Trump too. No.
That would have been a good twist.
That wouldn't have been a good twist. That would have been bad. He does not need to be pro-Trump. That's not a win for us. It's not a win. But then they had the host spoke out supporting the girl, saying that it was a little harsh, saying that she shouldn't have been dropped. And now
what do you mean she was, hold on one second. So she was dropped from the show for her tweets, not because he didn't choose her?
Well, he didn't choose her. things got under investigation, and yeah, she ended up being dropped by him. Like he dropped her.
He dropped her. And were the tweets one of the reasons?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Well, that's fair.
That's understandable. I mean, you're getting to know someone, and he's only known this chick for a couple weeks.
Right. There's other people to choose from. You pick the one that doesn't.
Exactly.
If you're not into that. If you're into Trump, you go with the girl with the tweets. So it wasn't his thing. It wasn't his thing. Well, clearly it wasn't. He was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of African American Trump supporters, unfortunately. I mean, not plenty, but there are some.
There are some, but it wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he chose not to go with her. And then the host of the show, he's going to sit out this next season and reevaluate his stance on some things and educate himself, because he was very quick to support her. Like, oh no, that's not fair. She doesn't deserve this. You know, she's not racist. But it's
who's
like,
the host of The Bachelor? I can't picture it right now.
I can picture him. I can't remember what his name.
The Bachelor host.
He's been on it since the beginning.
Yep, Chris Harrison.
Yes, Chris Harrison. And he said he realized he was a little too quick, and he's going to educate himself and hopes to continue on with the franchise. But one thing that most of the people were saying, the people that were past candidates, about their experiences, was that they felt like they didn't have anyone that they could confide in after having experiences on the show that they felt were hurtful or troubling. They didn't have a person of color that was in production. No one, they said behind the camera, no one was a person of color that they felt would get it if they voiced their complaints to them. So they felt like they just had to kind of just smile and bear with it, which is something that a lot of people of color have had to deal with if they're in all white spaces, because you might have these feelings about a situation, but unfortunately, if you take it to some people, they just don't get it. They're not as understanding, they're not as responsive, they don't understand your complaints. So they're saying how, hopefully going forward, The Bachelor does move to become more diverse and more inclusive behind the scenes, because they do have a little bit of a race issue. And one contestant was saying how she had this dynamic with another contestant. And as they do on reality TV shows, they play up the drama. It's reality TV. But she felt like she had been portrayed as this angry Black woman. And that was her only role. Even when she went to talk with her bachelor, he would only talk to her about her relationship with this other contestant. And she felt like that became her role, just the moderator between her and this other woman. And when the show was said and done and she watched it, that was the only thing they showed her as, this angry, judgmental Black girl that was just trying to judge this white girl that was trying to figure things out. She may have had little mental issues. But
did you watch that season? Did you watch the episodes that she was in?
I didn't watch that season.
Gotcha.
I didn't watch that season. But it's like, okay, you can understand, because that is something that they do in a lot of reality TV shows. They play up the drama.
Yeah.
And they have admitted, like even with shows like Love and Hip Hop, they will take what you're saying and edit it in a way to form the conversation into whatever they played in. So even some of the Love and Hip Hop people have said, like, I had a conversation with this girl, but this is not even what was said. So what they do is, if it's something that they're editing that you weren't really saying at that moment, they'll show like the other person's face.
Right. Well, so they can also show the other person's face from 5 minutes ago, and they do that all the time. I mean, they can pick whatever they want. Like, of course. And yeah, they edited it to be. I think that if you go on one of those shows, and obviously, like with nuance of race and stuff, it gets a little bit more complicated for sure. But you do need to kind of be ready that you may be portrayed in a way that you don't like or isn't necessarily truthful to what happened, because it is this sort of fake drama. You kind of sign away what you're being portrayed as. And I think at this point, a lot of people watching the shows also kind of have a basic understanding that that's what's happening, that it's a little manipulated, you know. We all
You would
can,
think.
yeah. I mean, obviously
You
that's,
would think.
yeah, it's not everybody, and of course, you know, I'm not.
One would hope that people would have the understanding, but I can't
Yeah.
even. I've stopped giving the American public the benefit of
Right,
the doubt.
of course.
Because so many times, even with shows that aren't reality shows, that aren't even scripted dramas, people have a problem with separating a character from who someone is in real life. Like the main character for Riverdale, the guy that plays Archie, he said he had to come to terms with his character and the fans of the show, because quite often they will judge him or give him abuse online for something that Archie did
Right, that the
in the
character
show.
did. Yeah, there's a lot of actors that talk about that.
But
And yeah,
you would
that's
think people would
people
say
are
like,
nuts.
hey, the writers are sucky. Why did they make Archie do that? But they don't say that. They come to the actual actor and say, you're a terrible person. How dare you leave Betty? Like, what?
Yeah, it's funny.
I didn't make that choice.
Of course. Um, yeah, The Bachelor is something that I feel like I should get into because I like horrible television, and it seems like it would be pretty entertaining. But I also don't get into it because I think that everything about it is kind of, it's just soul sucking, you know. And of course, there's going to be issues because just at the very core of what it is, it's such a superficial, like, garbage premise. None of these relationships actually work out. The people go there for like horrible reasons, you know. That's not like the way to gain a relationship. And yeah, the people who appear on that show just don't seem like the coolest people, so it's not something that I want to support, but I feel like I will eventually because I just love shit like that. So
I've
also
watched The Bachelor and The Bachelorette,
mhm.
and I will. Oh, you can finish. What were you saying?
Also, the thing too that I don't like about it is that, and I haven't really watched a ton of it to see this, but every time it does sort of like pop up, it just does seem so. I mean, you say that there's like race issues with production. I mean, it's just, isn't it, like you said, it's always so white. Like all the
Yeah.
contestants, the bachelors,
So,
the bachelorette, they all look the same. Like that's part of the joke, right?
mhm.
Like Carson
Yeah.
Bryson and
So from 2009 until 2012, they didn't have any Black contestants on The Bachelor, and two Black male contestants that weren't selected actually sued the show for discrimination. And then the
by
next season in
contestants.
2000,
By contestants, are those like the people trying to get the woman's love? So there's like a bunch of
yes,
men, or like the actual?
yes,
Gotcha. So the Bachelorette.
the people trying to, yes, they were for the Bachelorette, but they sued. The next season of The Bachelor had four Black women competing after that. So it wasn't until 2013 that they and I was at 2009, 10, 11, 12. So they had 4 seasons with no Black people that were contestants or bachelors or bachelorettes at all.
Right.
So,
And wasn't it on before 2009 even? Maybe not.
No, that's when it started. But yeah, so yeah, clearly they had some issues. And one thing that they were saying was just, but amongst the contestants, just the things that were being said to them. Like one girl said that someone asked her point blank, like, "Oh, so do you know your father?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have any kids?" Just asking them stereotypical things. Like, it's not offensive. These are just facts. You know, you people have kids, and you people don't know your dads. And
just a real quick fact check: The Bachelor started on March 25th, 2002. It's in its 25th season.
Okay, so it must have been The Bachelorette they were talking about. Okay, so yeah, so for The Bachelorette.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I understand. There's some issues.
Would you ever go on a show like that?
I would.
You would?
I would go on. Okay, so I liked watching the show because yeah, there's some messy people. There are some messy people on there, which is like, okay, that's not cool. But some people go on there just to be messy.
The first Bachelorette episode was January 8th, 2003.
Okay, so 2003 till 2013.
There's only white people. Probably.
Yes, there were only white people.
I'm sure they had the occasional person, but, or maybe not.
Not
So
until
I'm
2000.
sorry. So you would go on. You would do it. You said.
Let me finish what I was saying.
What were you
So
saying?
I
Sometimes there's a
watched the
little bit
best.
of a lag with Zoom, so like I don't quite hear you. You know,
It's
I hear like an
okay,
echo.
Jacob.
So
It's okay.
all
It's
right, I'm
okay.
just explaining to you. Just explaining to you what
Okay.
happened.
So I like The Bachelor and I like The Bachelorette because it does get a little bit messy, but there are also people that go on it really looking for love, which is, I like those. It's heartwarming. I do prefer The Bachelorette over The Bachelor because I watch The Bachelor, it's just like this guy running through these girls. He just like running. And then like
Uh-huh.
they have like the one-on-one dates or like, the dates where they go somewhere and he's just he like totally has sex with this girl, and then the next day he goes on this date with this girl, totally has sex with that girl, and it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I feel like The Bachelorette is a little bit more genuine.
So they're
But
having
if I
sex
was
on
to
the
go
show.
on a dating, they don't like show the sex. It's like the sex is like implied. It's like okay,
Well, of course they
or
don't show
sometimes
it,
they
but
do
they
show
are.
them. Yeah, they do. Because
Uh-huh.
you're trying to get this guy to like you. And if
Uh-huh.
Becky put out and you're not putting out, you're not making it to the top four. Or he might like that, but you want to do what it takes to get to the end. You want the
Gotcha.
ring.
So
You
most
want
of the guys are like trying to bang as many chicks as possible. It seems like.
yeah. Most of them are kind of, but it's not like so much in the beginning. Some people do stuff in the beginning, but it's more like when they get it narrowed down to the end. When they're
Okay.
doing like the one-on-one dates, and some people do in the beginning, but it's not so much. But if I was to go onto a dating show, I want to do like Love Island. So
Uh-huh.
one of these ones that take
So
place on the island.
so on
It's
The
like all
Bachelor,
the
you
singles.
would go on there because you would actually genuinely want to find love and think that you
No,
could.
I
No.
said if I was to do one of the dating shows, I'd want to go on Love Island
No, I'm
or
talking
one
about
of
the
these.
question I had asked you before, and we were sort of on that pack. Like you said, you would do one of these shows, and you were like, "This is what I like about it, that people actually like genuinely go on there." So you wouldn't be going on there just like fuck around or like to try to get famous. Like you would genuinely want to meet somebody.
Yes, but I prefer to do it on a show, not on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. I would prefer to do it on like Love Island or one of those other shows because it's like just a bunch of singles, and on those shows
Uh-huh.
they're just pairing up with other singles as opposed to just being one guy and 20 girls. It's like 20 singles, and you guys are just getting to know each other. And if you couple up, it's a lot more natural. At least it seems more natural.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the whole thing with and I guess that's why many of the relationships, that happen through The Bachelor and Bachelorette, like they don't last very long because it's not natural. It seems very forced. And how can you
Yeah.
even really get to know somebody like on a fake ass TV set, you know?
And and the thing is, you are competing with like all these other girls for this person's attention, so you can't show them your bad side because you
Yeah,
want him to pick you. You want
right.
him to pick you, so you're like on your best behavior.
You're
So
not necessarily
then
being
after
yourself.
you guys, so after you guys get engaged, and he actually sees who you really are,
Right.
or you guys get married and he sees who you really are, he's like, oh crap, I didn't realize she's allergic to shellfish or whatever. Like, he doesn't really know you.
You might
He
not
doesn't know
even,
all
it
your
might not even be that you're like on your best behavior all the time. You might be like a completely, totally fake ass person because you're trying to game the person or do something else to get ahead of the girl next to you, like it's like it's a totally
and
different
then
existence.
let's not even forget it takes time for people to realize that someone might have some quirks that they don't like. Some people,
Yeah.
yeah, you meet them and you love them in the first 2 days and it actually works out. Some people, you've been dating for 6 months and you're like, oh no, he's a secret serial killer. This isn't going to work out.
So
So
on.
it could be any of those things. But yeah, there are some people that met on those dating shows and they've worked out. They've got families and they're legit in love from the outside. We don't know what's happening on the inside. It might be a
Nothing's
contract
perfect.
marriage,
Nothing's perfect.
but
But like
it
from The
seems
Bachelor,
like
Bachelorette.
yeah. from the Bachelor, Bachelorette. There are couples that have it's worked out. Would you go on one of the dating shows?
No.
Give it a try.
No, I wouldn't.
Why wouldn't you?
Because it seems super fake and lame. If I was on there, there's no way I could be genuine. You know, I would be whatever. I would just be a fake person. I'm sure of it. And so that's not like a good way to go into it.
Well, that is the way some people do it. But
yeah,
you know, because one thing you
and I don't think it's
get
good.
is not good, but you can tell that some people totally go in as a fake, like, okay, I'm just here. Because after you appear on these shows, you get endorsement deals, you get tons of followers, you get name recognition.
Right.
So kind of like a jumping board for your social media influencer career. Now you have 800,000 followers. And oh, because you kept talking about your dog, you got like tidy cats for dogs, you know, wanting to send you stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I would be doing much of that. That's not like of interest to me. So I'm not there for that reason. I think that the love experience would be super superficial. It's not how I want to meet somebody. I think all the people there are super superficial. I'd be super judgy of all of them. I probably wouldn't be there to make friends, so I wouldn't be super nice to people.
But this sounds like it'll make for good television.
You know what I would like. So the Love Island thing, you know, being with a group of people and being on a tropical paradise. I mean, that sounds fun, but kind of having to like compete with other men for women's attention, and then you know, and there's no way that doesn't like those outcomes don't affect you. You can pretend what you want, but you know, everybody has feelings. It's just like how you deal with them. You're just like, oh, feels like shit, but whatever.
I recently applied for a dating show that's going to take place in Australia. I'm like, okay, really? I'd go. I feel like it would be fun because okay, hey, free Australian vacation. But it's like most of the shows I've seen, the people do tend to kind of like pair up fast, and it's like either it's like between one or two people for most of the people. Like, okay, I've been spending time with Maybelline and she's real cool, and then like maybe you have a fight and then you start talking to Jessica. So most of the time they do like focus on one at a time, which is good. They're not like, because they tend to do stuff in a group setting. So if you're at a table and you're flirting with Maybelline and Jessica at the same time, they could totally see you. And there's other options for them as well. Like, oh, you're playing with my feelings, Jesse. I'm gonna talk to Brand.
Right.
And Brandon is a good homeboy from North Dakota. He just wants one woman to love.
Okay, I see what your fantasy is.
That's not my fantasy. But there's always like that nice boy. There's like the nice guy, like, you know, I'm not looking for too much witty banter. I just want to settle down.
Right. And vote for Trump in North Dakota.
Oh no. Oh
who,
no.
Who do you think he's voting for?
Dun dun dun. Well, who knows? That guy might be playing a role too, because he knows there's always a box that they need to fill. So he's like, actually, I'm from Delaware. But it's like, I feel the people do watch it thinking it's real, but it's better if you just look at it for the entertainment value.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a blurred line, you know, and there is, because there is an aspect of it that is real. I mean, it's not 100% scripted. People have real reactions. They have real feelings. There's real fights. There's real anger. There's real emotions, as opposed to when you watch a scripted television show where the actions are definitely not real. There's no touch reality. Yeah. It's just that, you know, they are manipulated in a way, and yeah, I mean, the curtain
given lots of alcohol too. They're giving lots of alcohol. Like they're like constantly drinking. So you already know there's going to be some issues. Someone's going to fall. There's going to be a nip slip because they're all wearing like bikinis all day.
It sounds fun. The beach sounds nice right now. It's cold in LA, like you said, and I wish it was warm. It's going to be soon. Let's go to a tropical paradise.
Are you planning any summer trips yet now that the vaccines are going to roll out by May?
No. I mean, I think it's weird to like plan nothing like vacation. I want to go visit some family soon. I'm gonna go in the spring still.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not trying to make any like big plans for the summer. Anything could kind of change. Everything's still like abnormal, so I don't want to like really go do stuff and spend money on experiences that may be weird because of COVID, whether it's just how things are distanced or because of mask wearing or, Also, I'm like
Okay.
a single guy person. I've no like, I don't know, no reason to, like maybe if I was a couple and we needed to do something as a couple because you got to do shit, it would make sense. Or if
Hmm.
I had a family, but it's not like me and a group of friends like are dying to go to the Caribbean like in June or else. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
That's good. I am planning some travels, both foreign and domestic. Like, of course, yeah, I want to go visit family, but I got one of these national parks passes. So I want to start going to as many national parks as I can until my pass wears out. Just like little weekend trips, see some places, do some hiking,
So what's your
do
plan?
something. First, we're going to do Joshua Tree. Then I want to do the Grand Canyon. Then I want to do Zion National Park. And I also want to see Yosemite. Feel
So
like that's
you have
doable.
dates planned that you're gonna go do with
No,
who
no
are you
dates
doing this?
yet.
These are just like
Well, my sister and then whoever's down to go. Just
but you
get an
you don't have a
Airbnb.
when or you're just like saying that this is something you'd like to do.
Yes, this is something I'd like to do. I already have like the first trip that I want to take planned out for May. So I'm just going to take it one trip at a time. Take that trip, then plan the next trip. Take that trip, plan the next trip. But I've been putting it out there so that my friends can know that this is something I want to do. And if
Uh-huh.
you want to come, good. If you don't, that's fine. But whoever wants to come, they're welcome.
Yeah, outside activities like that, we should definitely. I'm totally down. When did you? I remember you telling me you got the parks pass. Why did you? Did you go? It was like when you went to Joshua Tree last. You just got it,
Yeah, I went to
right?
Joshua Tree, and it was like not that big of a difference between the year pass and the day pass. And I'm like, I'm gonna in the next year, I'm gonna come back here, and I'm gonna go to another national park. So I
Mm-hmm.
might as well get it.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, and it's motivating. Like it's motivating you to go do those things, and those are great places to see, and it's nature, and it's what our country has to offer. That's how you be a
Yeah,
patriot. You go visit the national parks, and you see the country. That's
I
patriotic.
guess I hadn't thought about it as being patriotic. I just thought like seeing the country, experiencing things locally while flying is still a little weird.
Uh huh. Yeah, you're not trying to get on any planes.
Well, yeah, definitely not any long flights. I'm not going to be going to Europe until things get a little bit better.
Uh huh.
Probably not Thailand either. No like long flights.
Yeah,
They
my
say mass fatigue.
my family is Czech. We have place to stay in Prague, and I go to Prague often. And the Czech Republic is like the worst coronavirus rate in the world for like the last like month.
Wow.
It's like a
So
big
what happened?
red.
Was there like a holiday? Was there a Czech holiday or something and people got together?
It's been like that all for months. No holiday.
Wow.
It's not just like today. It's like all winter, like all of Europe. It is the reddest of the red. It has the highest case rates of anywhere in the world for like
I wonder what they're
months running.
doing.
I guess the government is just sending a lot of mixed signals, and so people are ignoring certain mandates. It's just like a confused situation there. Honestly, it's not too different. It sounds like from what's here. Because we don't have the
Okay.
greatest stuff happening here, and it just seems like there's a lot of backwards talk from the government, them not supporting mask mandates, then them like making certain businesses shut down, like none of the rules seem to make sense. They seem arbitrary. They get moved around at arbitrary times. So yeah, I guess it's just not being handled well there. Just like it's not being handled well here.
It's not, but it's like I feel like people, even though in some places it wasn't being handled the best, individuals took it upon themselves to not do stuff. Like, you know what, I could do this, but I'm still choosing not to. Like a lot of people still aren't going to restaurants. They're still not doing all these things that we can do, but they're still choosing not to.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's good. Because if everybody started going to Disneyland, be a little bit tough. Are you going to go to Disneyland when it opens back up?
I haven't been to Disneyland in like 7 or 8 years. When I go to an amusement park again, I want to go to. I've been saying it for a couple of years. I want to go to Magic Mountain real bad. I miss that.
Where is that? The one in Valencia?
Yeah, that's the
I
one
like
with.
amusement parks.
That's the one with all the. That's the one with the most roller coasters. That one's like tons of roller coasters.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be perfectly fine if I never in life got on another roller coaster. I'd be happy. That would be great. I'll get on a carousel. I'll get on like some like bumper cars. No more roller coasters. I'm done.
Gotcha. So don't go to don't take you to an amusement park.
No, do not. That's not a good gift. And that's happened to me before where people like, oh, as a present for you, I bought you these tickets to this amusement park. And I'm like,
funny. Yeah, some people don't like it. Some people don't like roller coasters. I don't love them, but I do think it's fun. Like, obviously, I haven't been to Magic Mountain since I was a kid. I went to Disneyland, blah blah blah, 8 years ago. I went to Universal Studios last year. It was pretty fun.
okay, I like Universal Studios because their rides are like the virtual reality, like, we're on a roller coaster. Oh, we're falling, but it's not like, oh, crank, 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 crank.
So the virtual roller coaster, because when you drop in the virtual ones, you feel it too, But that
it's not bad. Yeah, I can take that.
You like that, or not?
I don't mind that.
Got it.
I don't mind it. I can tolerate it.
It's the physical thing. It's knowing that you're in the air that kind of adds to the freak out element for you a little bit.
I don't like heights. I don't like heights. So me being at the top of a roller coaster and I can see the birds flying next to me, that is the scariest thing in life. Like, that is what I have in my nightmare. So to pay money and wait in line for that experience, it's like, are you gonna pay to get stabbed by Freddy Krueger? Like, no, you're not gonna do it. No, it's terrifying.
I think I'm changing the subject right now because I'm gonna slowly move our podcast to a conclusion. Not because I don't want to stop talking to you. The reason I do end it sometimes, we pay for a subscription service that gives us like 3 hours a month, and we always go over, and that's okay. And we have to pay to go over, which is fine, but I only want to pay so much. But yeah, maybe we need to just like increase our thing so that it's whatever.
Well, we can end it.
Because we've been going for like an hour and a half or more.
Oh no. Okay, we need to start cutting it at an hour.
I was thinking that too, but it was going well, and we cover a lot of topics. And then like 15 minutes ago, I was like, maybe I'll end it. And I was like, let's just keep it going. I'm like, what do I got going on today? You're leaving town though? Or wait, did you come back already? No, I saw you. I'm like, I saw you. Yeah, I'm like, I saw you.
I'm leaving town this week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm leaving town this week. I'll be gone for a little bit, but then I'll be back once again with the jump off.
Yes. And maybe we'll do our next podcast not in Zoom. Maybe I'll come sit next to you on that couch right there.
It's lovely that you think this is couch, but this is actually a pillow mountain.
A pillow mountain? Okay. Well,
it really is. It's like 20 pillows just all piled together.
Well, we can do it live from Pillow Mountain. Possibly. Yeah.
Okay, or from balcony. We have a lot of different locales to choose from.
Yeah, you were coming over to this spot before, and we've been doing the Zoom thing for a while. I think that maybe next time
Oh,
we might
probably
do a
not
line
right
shot.
when I come back, because I'm gonna try to at least quarantine for a little bit just in
Sure,
case.
sure. Maybe we'll do one more on Zoom then when you get back, and then
Okay.
but whatever. We'll play it by ear like we always do. That's how we like it.
All
No
right.
schedule, no schedule. Just doing our 3.5 hours a month.
Yay.
I'm gonna stop recording right when you snap. That way I have to do like the least amount of editing. So hold on 1 second. Let me get my mouse over the thing. All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
And bye.